I think we can all agree that one of the best feelings is when you read a book that you can't put down. So today I'm going to tell you about a bunch of books that had me hooked and that I couldn't put down. And I'm so excited because I have some really, really wonderful books here. Welcome or welcome back. I'm so glad that you're here today. Before I get started, I would love to know what books you were hooked by and you couldn't put down. So definitely let me know in the comments, and I'm excited to see the books that you were hooked by. Here are the books that I couldn't put down. The first one is kind of funny because I couldn't put it down because I read it for a 24-hour readathon, so I couldn't actually put it down. But I know that even if I wasn't reading it for a 24-hour readathon, I wouldn't want to put it down. And that is If Beale Street Could Talk by James Baldwin. This story is told through the eyes of Tish, who is a 19-year-old girl who is in love with Fani, and Fani is the father of her child. Fani was accused of a crime he didn't commit, and their families try to clear his name and basically save him. And it's this beautiful, heartbreaking, heartwarming story about love and family and injustice and your place in the world and your place in a society, and it is beautifully told, beautifully written, and I couldn't put it down because I was so invested in the characters. I wanted them to be okay. I was so nervous about what was going to happen, and I just needed to know. I needed to know what would happen. So I really, really didn't want to put it down. I also couldn't because I did read it for a 24-hour readathon that I did with my husband Leon, so I will link that video. We did film a vlog for it, which was fun. But this was beautiful and heartbreaking and just gorgeous, and it hooked me from the first page. Tish's voice as the narrator seemed so authentic and genuine and honest, and I just loved hearing her story and being affected by it. The next one I read quite a few years ago, and I remember seeing a million people buying it because I worked at a bookstore. I worked at Barnes & Noble, and while I was working there, a million people were buying this book, and I just had no clue why. I wanted to find out why, and so I bought the book myself, and I read it, and I loved it, and that is Where the Crawdads Sing by Dahlia Owens. This was actually turned into a movie with Daisy Edgar Jones playing our main character, and this has sold so many copies. It's a New York Times, #1 New York Times bestseller, and it's a beautiful, beautiful story. I don't want to give too much away. Why I couldn't put this one down is because there is like I wouldn't say a mystery element to it, but there is like there's a lot of intrigue. So I will read you the first paragraph of the blurb because it does a very good job. So it says, for years, rumors of the Marsh Girl have haunted Barkley Cove, a quiet town on the North Carolina coast. So in late 1969, when handsome Chase Andrews is found dead, the locals immediately suspect Kaya Clark, the so-called Marsh Girl. It doesn't really have any specific place, like a romance or a mystery or anything like that. It's just a beautiful story. Why I couldn't put this book down is because I just wanted answers. I wanted to know what was going to happen with Kaya. I wanted to know what happened to Chase, who killed him. I wanted to know what, I don't know, I don't want to give too much away, but I needed answers, and I didn't want to put it down. It's also beautifully written, and it is a great book for, I would say, summer, end of summer, so it's a good time to pick it up if you haven't read it. The next one is an all-time favorite book of mine by one of my favorite authors, and that is Normal People by Sally Rooney. This book holds such a special place in my heart, and when I read it for the first time, I remember not wanting to put it down because I was just so invested in the characters' lives. We are following Marianne and Connell as they go from starting a secret relationship in their last years of high school and into university. Their lives kind of go separate ways, and they come back together, go separate ways, come back together, and they can't help but always find each other, and they have such a strong connection. And it's a gorgeous, gorgeous coming of age story. Again, trying to find your place in the world, trying to find who you are, who you want to surround yourself with. Healthy relationships, unhealthy relationships, family dynamics. It's an incredible story, beautifully written, and I couldn't put it down because I just wanted to know what would happen to these characters. I wanted them, I'm not gonna say if they end up together or not, but I just wanted them to be together. You can feel their connection so deeply, it's palpable, and I just kept trying to read it so that I could have them be together, and it was just, So emotional, so emotional, and I truly did not want to put this one down. And I felt the same way about the miniseries on Hulu. That is one of my favorite shows, my favorite book to movie adaptations absolutely ever. And it felt so real. Like these characters, it didn't feel like it was a fictional story. It just felt like they were actual people, and I just wanted the best for them, and I wanted everything to be okay, and I wanted to know what would happen. So could not put this one down because I was just so invested in their lives. These next two are from the same author, who is also Irish, like Sally Rooney, and that is Claire Keegan's Foster and Small Things Like These. I first read Small Things Like These on a plane journey home from visiting Emma from her YouTube channel. Emmy, she is one of my very best friends, and I remember picking this up with her in Chapters Indigo in Toronto, and then I read it on the plane ride home and I could not put it down. The plane ride from Toronto to New York is not very long at all, so I feel like I started it right before I got on the flight. I did read it on the plane, but I don't think I finished it. And then I came home and I finished it, but I did not want to put it down. I remember the plane descending and thinking like, oh, I just want to keep reading. I wanted the plane to keep flying so that I could finish the book and not have to stop. This is another one where there's some intrigue, and I don't want to tell you what the intrigue is, but it says, it is 1985 in a small Irish town. During the weeks leading up to Christmas, Bill Furlong, a coal merchant and family man, faces into his busiest season. Early one morning, while delivering an order to the local convent, Bill makes a discovery which forces him to confront both his past and the complicit silences of a town controlled by the church. I don't want to say what's going on, but what's going on is really tough, and it puts our main character in a very difficult position, and I just wanted to know what would happen. And it's a short book, so I knew that it was coming to an end, and I just wanted to keep reading, I just wanted to finish it. And so this, I also have already reread it, and it's just one of my favorites. And then we have Foster by Claire Keegan as well. This one is about a young girl who is part of a very big family. She has a lot of siblings, and her parents don't really seem to care about her very much. And so her mother is having yet another baby, and they decide to send this main character, this quiet girl, to their family member's farm that's near them but not very close by. And this family takes her in kind of as their own, and she sort of opens up to them, and it really becomes a family that she's never had before. And it's a beautiful story. I don't want to tell you what else happens or the end or anything. Obviously, I don't want to give the whole story away. But it's such a beautiful book, and again, it's short. I just wanted to know what would happen to this young girl, and I felt so dearly for her, and I just wanted everything to be okay. Claire Keegan's writing as well is so fast-paced. You just like flow right into the story and you don't want to put it down. I feel like her books are very good for just like one sitting reads, like you read it all the way through in one sitting. I think they're just so captivating and will keep you on the edge of your seat. You'll just want to keep reading and know how it ends. So love these. This next one is a wild one. It's one of my favorites, and that is The Heart of a Dog by Mikhail Bulgakov. This is a crazy Russian classic, and I love it so much. This is about a doctor and a professor who befriend, it says on the back, befriend a stray dog, and they put the testicles and pituitary gland of a recently deceased man into this dog, and the dog kind of becomes like a Frankenstein's monster, and becomes this dog man person and wreaks havoc. And it is so entertaining and crazy and wild, and I couldn't put it down. One, because it's quite short and I just wanted to see how it would end. You're just watching a disaster take place. Like you're watching a tornado just like wreck an entire town. That's how this book felt. And it's just so... Mikhail Bulgakov's writing is so entertaining, and just really loved it, and I didn't want to put it down because it was unlike anything I had ever read at the time. Also, still unlike anything I've ever read. I mean, it is very similar to the idea of Frankenstein, but I just loved it so much, and I wanted to know like what was going to happen, because this just seemed like they were in the world's greatest pickle. And I'm like, how are they going to get out of this situation? How are they going to rectify what they have done? And it's such a great story, so highly recommend. The next one I want to mention is by this author, but it's a different book. So here I have Breasts and Eggs by Meiko Kawakami, but the one that I really couldn't put down is titled Heaven. This is Breasts and Eggs, another book that I really, really love from her that I also couldn't put down. I loved this one as well, but Heaven in particular, I just really, really could not put down. I don't have a physical copy because I listened to it on audiobook, but I just didn't want to stop listening to it. So anyway, I will put a picture of Heaven up here. It is a gorgeous story about friendship and bullying. We are following two main characters who have a very difficult time in school, and they are bullied for different reasons. And it's just it's a short story, so I don't want to give too much away, but it highlights topics of bullying and friendship and feeling like you belong in the world and the cruelty of being a child. I think children can be very cruel sometimes, especially in school settings when there are bullies and pressures and things that you deal with when you're an adolescent, and it's beautifully, beautifully explored in this book. And again, I felt so connected to the characters. I felt so terribly for them. When I was in school, I did get bullied because I had curly hair and glasses, and I was quite nerdy looking, and that's perfectly fine. I'm very proud to be a nerd now. But at the time, it's just really difficult to go through being bullied. I think a lot of people can relate to the conversations in this book, and I felt so attached to the characters because I could see part of my own experience reflected in their experiences, and again, I just wanted to see how everything would go. And yes, I was really, really invested in the story, so I just did not want to put it down. And Meiko Kawakami's writing is absolutely gorgeous, and I can't recommend it enough. She is becoming one of my favorite writers ever, and I am desperate to get a copy. I really want the UK edition. I don't love the US editions of her books. I actually picked this one up when I was at the airport in Heathrow because there was, what was the book? W.H. Smith books. There was a bookshop, I think it was Terminal 5 or 3. I picked up this book because I really wanted the UK edition, and now I really want the UK editions of her other books as well. So yes, Heaven is gorgeous, and again, highly recommend it, which is why it's in this video. The next one I read a few months ago, and I truly couldn't put it down either because, again, like the same things I've been saying about these other books, I just wanted to know what would happen. There were so many like twists and turns that I wasn't expecting. And I wasn't expecting them from Jane Austen. So this is Sense and Sensibility, obviously, by Jane Austen. And I feel like the drama in this book, the twists and turns, were really amplified in this story in particular. And I just could not put this book down because I loved it so much, and I was just so excited to pick it up every time that I put it down. I remember just like, oh, I can't wait until I can pick it back up again and read more. So Sense and Sensibility has become one of my all-time favorite Jane Austens now, and I only have one Jane Austen left, which I will probably read in 2025 because I like reading one Jane Austen a year, and the only one I have left is Mansfield Park. But love Sense and Sensibility. If you haven't read it, oh my god, please read it. You will, I hope that you will love it. I didn't tell you what Sense and Sensibility was about because I'm just assuming that you know. Sense and Sensibility is about the Dashwood sisters and their romantic lives. And I think that's all you really need to know. I mean, Jane Austen, you kind of know, I feel like you sort of know what to expect. Anyway. Moving right along. The next book, I actually found my Goodreads review of it for this book, and that is Find Me by Andre Aciman. This is the sequel and companion novel to Call Me By Your Name, and I wrote in my review, I gave the book 5 stars. That still stands. I loved this book so much, and I wrote, "You know you love a book when you stay up till 2:30 a.m. because you can't put it down. Then end up finishing it." So I literally wrote in my review that I stayed up until 2:30 in the morning to finish this book. So I thought that was funny that I found that. I don't want to give too much away because this is a companion novel, like I said, to Call Me By Your Name. Call Me By Your Name is a beautiful, beautiful book that I also couldn't put down. Find Me follows characters in Call Me By Your Name and gives us a different, unique perspective of what happened since the end of Call Me By Your Name. Again, don't want to give too much away. Call Me By Your Name is a beautiful, beautiful coming-of-age story about this family in the north of Italy. The father always takes on a graduate student every summer, and the one graduate student during this one particular summer, during the story, during the time of Call Me By Your Name, when the story takes place, the son of the family, Elio, he's the main character, basically falls for the graduate student who is an older man or young man named Oliver, and it's about their relationship with one another and them navigating their sexuality, and it's just a gorgeous, sun-drenched, beautiful book, and I was devastated by the ending, probably. So when I heard that it was getting a sequel or companion novel, I was over the moon. And I was just so excited to have more of the story. I was excited to be back in that world with those characters and to see where they ended up in the future, because this is going to the future of after Call Me By Your Name was set. I loved it so much. So highly recommend. I wouldn't say that it's a sequel. I would say it's more of a companion novel. I've just heard mixed things from people about this book, so I would think of it as a companion novel rather than a sequel. I hope that makes sense. The last book I want to mention is from one of my favorite authors, and that is Fredrik Backman's Anxious People. I couldn't put this book down for so many reasons. Number one, I love Fredrik Backman's writing. He is one of my favorite, all-time favorite authors, one of my all-time favorite contemporary authors, I should clarify. And I love his books, I love his writing. He always makes me laugh and cry and feel every single feeling I'm capable of feeling in one book, and it's just so exciting, even in one chapter sometimes. I remember reading this and literally laughing out loud at certain points. This story, I hate saying what it's about because it's so much more than the basic plot of what occurs, but it's funny because I'll read you the first page. So the first paragraph of chapter 1 says, "A bank robbery, a hostage drama, a stairwell full of police officers on their way to storm an apartment. It was easy to get to this point, much easier than you might think. All it took was one single, really bad idea." And I feel like that's all I want to tell you about the book. It is heartwarming and lovely and funny and silly and thrilling in a way and exciting, and it's just so much. I feel like this book kind of, again, like Where the Crawdads Sing, it doesn't really have like a specific place in like fiction. It's not a mystery, it's not a romance, it's not a thriller, but it is also all of those things at the same time. So I highly recommend it. It's a wonderful story, and there was a really great mini-series adaptation that's in Swedish, which I watched and I really enjoyed. So yes, I love Fredrik Backman. I will never stop recommending his books. I just think he's great, and if you pick this up, then I hope that you like it. These are all of the books that kept me on the edge of my seat the whole time that I could not put down. So I hope that you guys enjoyed hearing about these books. Again, I would love to know what books you couldn't put down, so definitely feel free to leave those in the comments. Thank you guys so much for being here and always being so kind and lovely and wonderful. Again, hope you enjoyed this video. It was very fun to film, as always. I always have fun filming. And just, yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here. So I will see you very soon in another video, and as always, happy reading!